Hi, my name is Ann Kent. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and the owner of Peas and Happiness. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use an immersion blender, some tricks for preventing splattering, and also how to clean it, as well as go over a couple of the different attachments that some of the immersion blenders use or come with. So I highly recommend an immersion blender if anyone is making any type of creamy soup. The only alternative to cream soups like this butternut squash soup that we're making is to transfer the contents of this into a standing blender and be really careful as you blend this not to burn yourself when you're pouring it, or not to have the pressure build up and the lid explode. So lots of bad things can happen when you are blending hot liquids. So the alternative is this immersion blender. So mine does have a cord, it's plugged in, and it's a Cuisinart, but there's several different options you can use, and they tend to not be too expensive. They generally run from like $30 up to $50 for some of the ones with attachments. They can get a little bit more expensive, but probably this is something that you will really want to use once in a while, but is not something you need to use every single day. So you don't necessarily need to get the top of the line immersion blender. Something simple will do. So this is really simple. In the end there is a blade at the end there, and then there just has a button to make that spin. So when you are using your soup, this butternut squash has been cooking for several hours, and I'm just about ready to add the liquid. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this because one of the key tips to preventing splattering is to make sure that your immersion blender is completely submerged underneath the liquid. If it's not completely submerged, that's when you're gonna find some trouble. So I'm just gonna pour that in here and show you how easy it is to make this creamy soup. So I'm gonna tip this so that you can see it, but also so that I can make sure to have plenty of room. And then I just put the blender in there, press the button, and blend. And it doesn't take very long at all. Sometimes I do move it around a little bit just to make sure that I get all of the squash blended. But as you can see, this is 1,000 times easier than trying to move this to another standing blender. If you have a soup that you would like to still have some chunks of the vegetable that you have in it, then of course you don't need to blend as long, but that didn't take very long at all. Okay, so now once I'm done blending, one of the recommendations for cleaning your blender is I like to hold this completely out of the liquid but still underneath the level of the pot, and I just run the blender a little bit to make sure that I spin off any of the extra soup there. So once I'm done, I remove the attachment, and then I run this under water while it's still wet. I don't want the soup to dry on the blades, because then they get really tough to wash. But this I can simply rinse off, and I just run my finger along that, and then your attachment is clean. Now the last thing I wanted to show you was some of the other attachments. So my blender actually came with a couple different options. So it did come with a whisk attachment, which is really handy if you don't have a KitchenAid or you don't have another standing mixer. This is great if you need to whip cream or are beating eggs or something like that. So handy to have. The other thing, which I actually use more than I thought I would, is this. It's almost like a mini food processor. So there's a little blade in there that I can attach, and then this works really well if I'm mixing or if I'm making things like a sauce or like a gremolade or something to go on a protein or pasta or something like that. So these are optional attachments. Some of the different immersion blenders come with them, and you can almost use them in place of either a stand mixer or a food processor for minor small recipes. Obviously this isn't very big, or you can simply find an immersion blender that only has the immersion blender attachment to it. So that is all there is to that immersion blender. As you can see, it was super simple to make this soup, and again, if you like to make creamy soups at home, I highly recommend you purchase an immersion blender. I will post a link to one that I would recommend. It does have some of these other attachments, but otherwise feel free to shop around and find something inexpensive that works for you. If you're interested in the butternut squash soup recipe, I'll also drop a link to the recipe packet that includes this. delicious. This is one of our favorites, so I hope that you do try it out if you don't have a recipe of your own and enjoy some of that fall squash this season. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will catch you next week. Bye-bye.